What is happening, everybody? How y'all doing? So it is Tuesday. I'm here with a cup of coffee and hanging out with you all. And we're going to do what we did last week because this has been kind of fun to take a little bit of time on a Tuesday, separate from our other FAQ live stream, and go over some of the questions or some of the comments. Hang on. Apparently, there we go. And got some of the questions or comments that came in over the last week, as well as you saw the thumbnail. We're going to talk about something I always want to do, kind of a hot take on a story that come out this week, and this one's kind of a big one: the Dean versus Gibson situation. So we'll chat about that a little bit. Hello from Finland. Hello, Paul. Hello, everybody else who is watching. Chime in and let me know where you are watching from this afternoon. If you have any questions, do me a favor and put them in there. Put a bunch of question marks in front of it so I can try to catch it, because Leslie's not with me on Tuesdays, so I have to do all this myself. And if you want to get kind of bumped to the top of the list, just use a super chat, because we've got those as well. All right, so I suppose we should jump straight into the kind of headline story that we see on the thumbnail of this video, and that is that Dean has to stop making, I guess they call it their Z, but it's basically an Explorer, and they have to stop making their V. Now, this is an interesting thing that has developed recently, because back in May, I thought everything was going to be fine, because there was a judgment against them, and basically they just said they had to pay like $4,000 in legal fees, and then that was going to be it. However, that has been modified and then leaned on. There's been basically a new understanding of what that means, and they actually have to stop making those two guitars, the Dean Explorer and the Dean V. So we should jump a little bit into this, because people are probably going to jump into the comments and be like, Gibson's the big bad whatever. I'm going to tell you right now, I 100% agree with what is happening here. However, I can see where people would get a little weird about this. So I did some research on this. So first of all, we should establish that this is not a copyright. This is not a patent. This is a trademark. And I've done a lot of research on this. One of my friends is the lawyer that sued Fender and made it possible to where we could all make Fender and Strat shapes. He's been on my podcast before. He's been on the channel before. We talked about this for hours. Whenever I have questions about this, I can call him. He is not a lawyer. He is the lawyer when it comes to this stuff. So I've done a bunch of research about this. Very, very interesting stuff. That being said, I'm not a lawyer. So do your own research and fill in the gaps, obviously. But basically the way I understand this is, and I've had to deal with it in my own business as well, is if you have a shape or something, let's take anything. Take the Apple logo. Take FedEx purple. Take Home Depot orange. Take Larry Dimarzio cream. Take the Gibson Les Paul shape, the V shape, and the Explorer shape, and say, I am the company. We created whatever this thing is, and we are going to file a trademark with the Trademark and Patent Office. And from this point forward, anyone who wants to copy that thing has to come and ask me first. I may license it and allow them to do it, or I may just say no. If, for some reason, they file that trademark and then they ignore attempts to copy it, and years go by and they kind of just lose their edge on that and they don't maintain it, then there could be some legal precedent for that. This one is a little bit different, because let's talk quickly about the timeline where this is where this is interesting for the Gibson stuff. So I'm going to just hit you with the timeline on this deal. So first of all, we know that the Explorer and the Flying V first came out in 1958. 8. Okay. In 1959, the V was actually discontinued a year later. In 1963, the Explorer was discontinued. In 1967, so there was a few years there where neither guitar was made. 1967, they reintroduced the V. In 1975, they patented, because it's a design and function thing. That's what a patent is. The peg head, the matchbook peg head, the normal Gibson one. In 1976, they reintroduced the Explorer. Now, here's where it gets interesting. In 1976, Gibson reintroduces the Explorer. At this point, the guitar shape was not trademarked in 1976. In 1977, Dean, founded by Dean Zielinski, introduces the V and the Z, which is basically their version of the V and the Explorer in 1977. At this point, they could do that 100% legally because there was no trademark at that time on those Gibson shapes. Jump forward to 1997. This is an interesting thing. When Dean Guitars was sold to Armadillo Enterprises, the company went through an ownership change, and simultaneously in 1997, Gibson got trademarks on the V and the Explorer. Now, here's the thing. Dean had been making that shape since 1977. So they'd been making this shape for 20 years, basically, already. So Dean is saying, hey, we've been making it for 20 years before it was trademarked. Therefore, we should be allowed to. This has been a big fight, blah, 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 blah. The long and the short of it is, Gibson, when J.C. Curley came into power, more or less when he took over the company and turned the thing around, they really went after a lot of this legal stuff. You remember? Play authentic and all that. And the idea was to get back the identity of the brand and not allow it to become the Stratocaster and the Telecaster, where just everybody can make whatever without any recourse. So they really went hard after this, and I know a lot of people don't agree with it, but they got this judgment that says Dean has to stop making those two shapes. Now, here's the thing. Dean could say, well, we've been making it for 20 years and there was no trademark. However, Gibson can say, well, we've been making it for way before that, and you never trademarked it. Even though we never trademarked it, you never did either. Dean could have actually trademarked it at that point and fought for that trademark. I don't know how that would have went, but they could have fought for it because there was no existing trademark up until 1997. So basically, the bottom line is both brands slept on it. The thing is that Gibson had a much longer history with those two shapes. So they probably had a little more power with it legally. I don't know 100% because I wasn't in the room, obviously, at the court case, and I wasn't in the jury room because this actually went to a jury trial. So it's a pretty interesting thing. But it's really important for a company to defend their brands and shapes. And I 100%, I know that many people do not agree with me on this, but I 100% agree with somebody who is trying to maintain their brand. They waited a little long to do it, but they did have the precedent to do it. So it does make sense. This could have been way worse for Dean because they could have had an injunction against them that says we want a percentage of all of the sales of this guitar since 1997 all the way till now, because you've been stealing it since 1997 when we had the trademark on it. They could have done that, but they didn't. I think they do have to pay their legal fees, which is like $350,000 or something, $400,000 bucks. So It's very interesting. I know that it's a kind of a contentious thing in guitar land because people do not want the big man to survive, but whatever, man. Basically, it's a brand trying to maintain their brand. And if you have a small business in the United States in 2022, you better be doing the same thing. I am. We all are. We should be. It's really, really important to do this. And so, um, yeah. So, anyway, those trademarks are all just America. That is true. Well, it's not totally true. Oh man, this just in. I just got an email from a little bird who told me to call him when I get done with a live stream to ask I get to find out a little bit about what's going on with these Fender layoffs. So hopefully, maybe I'll do a little quick live stream tomorrow and let you know what's going on after I talk to my little bird that tells me things. Yeah, very cool. That's literally just happened while I'm sitting here talking to you. So, anyway, if you have a small company and you're ripping off somebody, be careful. I think it's really, really, really important to be respectful of other people's brands. Is there any questions in here? Anybody saying anything? Just try to copy a Fender peghead if you think that's true. That's exactly right. Yeah, because Fender will come after you faster than crap. It's happened to a couple of my friends that they've had to fight it out with Fender. So yeah, I think it's pretty interesting. People are saying in the comments that yeah, Gibson has a right to protect their property. It's exactly true, and that's exactly the thing. So anyway, those are a couple of thoughts on that, and I know that there will be because people get on me all the time about trademark stuff because if I play a Strat copy or if I play a Tele copy. But the thing is there is also legal precedent to say that anybody can make the Strat shape or anybody can make the Tele shape. Because, same exact reason, Fender never maintained those trademarks. Never trademarked them and then did not properly maintain them. And I want to say it was in 2005, something like that. Right in there somewhere. There was finally a judgment that said, nope, you can pretty much use whatever shape you want. So, yeah. Very, very cool. Anyway, is this a cup of K-Java? No, actually, this is an oat milk espresso that I made just before we came in here. So, yeah, I got a few comments that came in this week that I was going to share with you all that I thought were kind of funny. I put them on my phone this time because it was easier than toggling around with the computer. And if you have any questions or comments, please do me a favor and put a bunch of question marks in front of it so that I can see it, and then I'll try to get to it. Are you having any issues with the Silver Sky? No, that guitar is one of the best guitars I've ever owned. That thing is freaking amazing. Fender has a backlog of orders to fill, then why are the layoffs happening? Like I said, I've got a little bird that tells me things. As soon as I get off this live stream, I'm going to make a couple of phone calls and I'm going to dig into that some because I think that is important to find out because I saw Phil McKnight say something about it the other day, and I have not said anything about it publicly because I want to be accurate on it, and like I said, I know a few people that will be able to help me with understanding accurately what's happening there. And somebody just brought up, John Gonzalez just brought up that they actually did lose the trademarks in Europe on the V, as well. I think it's just the V. I don't think it's the Explorer. It might be the 335 too. I believe it was the V and the 335, but you could check me on that. Google that. That happened a few months ago. It's a piece of information I just didn't log permanently. So a couple of things I want to address. These are some of these questions I want to address because people always ask me about this stuff. Like maybe they get a little annoyed with various things. Mark Stanton says, Fender could come after me for building my own T-style and using their headstock shape. They could come after you for the headstock shape. They cannot come after you for the body shape. So yes. Philks says, I usually enjoy this channel, but there's way too many ads. So here's the thing with the ads. I don't have control over the ads. YouTube puts those in, and that's it. I don't really have control over them. You can, and I know people don't like subscription stuff, but I will tell you, you can subscribe to whatever the YouTube premium thing is, and then there's no more ads. Here's the cool part about it, though. I mean, I make like 1/10 of a penny off of an ad, right? Like it's not that much. But what they do when you subscribe is whoever you subscribe to on YouTube, they split your money between everybody that you subscribe to. So the people that you want to support on YouTube actually get better support if you subscribe than if you just watch without it. And you don't have to have any ads. So I just want to mention that. A lot of people don't know how that works on the back end. It's kind of cool. Same kind of similar thing. Why do channels say please subscribe right off the bat before they've given you any information? I'll tell you why. Because 61% of our viewers who watch our channel have watched it before but have not subscribed. And so you're already here for the second or third time and you're not subscribed, 61% of you. So that's why I ask. It's kind of an interesting little fact there too. What would you check for a burnt smell in a guitar? Dude, if you have something burning in your guitar, you have big problems because there's no voltage really in a guitar, and there's certainly no current. We're talking millivolts, and we're talking zero current. Current at no resistance, which is basically a short, so high current and low resistance, a short, is what causes heat, and that doesn't happen in a guitar unless you've got something seriously wrong, probably with your amp, but I doubt even that. That's kind of a funny one. Can you put a capacitor in a guitar backwards? Is there a negative and a positive? So electrolytic capacitors have a negative and a positive, but we don't use those in guitars. Those would be filter caps like you would put in an amplifier, for example, in the power supply. The capacitors that we normally use in a guitar do not have a positive and a negative. There will be ding-dongs who will tell you that there is this microscopic difference in the dielectric, and if you flip it around, label up versus not label, like an orange. It's a bunch of BS. Just put the thing in the guitar. Let's see. How to polish frets on your guitar the right way. Somebody says, use steel wool. Just take out the pickups before you clean, file, and crown your frets. Dude, if you're taking your pickups out every time you work on your guitar, I know you're not. Don't do that. Don't use steel wool on your guitar, ever. Don't ever use steel wool on your guitar. Those particles, let me show you what happens. So we have a Strat pickup here, right? Those particles will stick to the magnets in here. And that's not necessarily a big deal because you can wipe them off. But here's the thing, you'll always leave some. And what happens is they'll get stuck down in here. So they might get stuck, like on the magnet, but underneath the cover because you don't take your guitar apart every time you clean your frets. So what'll happen is as you sweat and stuff, the little pieces of steel will rust, and that rusty garbage will migrate its way down into the pickup. And it like wicks down there. It's not like it just like falls in. It actually over time can cause corrosion between the coil and the magnet, and it'll rust out a magnet, rust out a coil wire, short out a coil wire, leading to the premature death of your pickup. And if you don't think it can happen, think again, because I have rewound many, well, I would say too many. I would say probably half a dozen pickups for that very thing. So, yeah. Pretty interesting. Okay. Yeah. So, I apologize to not know how to pronounce your name, but you're the gentleman from Finland. He says, caps can be placed the wrong way, but the change is minimal. The outer layer of the cap should be negative, but that only applies any difference in a radio equipment where the signal could be distorted. So, yes. So, what we should say with that is there are applications where it does matter, but in a guitar it doesn't matter because we're not that finite with everything. What he's talking about is that can actually change it could actually change the effect of the cap. So how do I say this? So let's say your cap is 22 microfarads, right? Or 0.022 microfarads, and you put it in this way with the outer going to the ground and the inner going towards the hot. And then you flip it around and it microscopically changes the value. In a guitar, that doesn't matter because we're dealing with much bigger numbers, actually. In a radio situation, when we're dealing with frequencies like tuning an antenna, then any drift in capacitance can make it to where the frequency isn't right anymore because it's a filter. So in those situations, you could have an issue with that with a non-electrolytic capacitor. But what happens is people hear that and they're like, so what you're telling me is in a NASA antenna on the top of a mountain where they're talking to aliens 17 light years away, this can happen. Therefore, it's going to happen in my guitar. And that's just not correct. So, yes. Thank you for bringing that out, though. I appreciate that very much because you are definitely right on that. And it's a good thing to clarify, I guess. So, thank you. I was just wondering about your choice of swamp ash. He's talking about our batfish build back here. I've always thought that one would choose swamp ash for the grain, but yours is painted. Is there a tonal or resonant reason why to use it instead of a less expensive alternative? First thing I'll tell you, I don't make decisions for materials that we use on any of our products based on price. We use the best of whatever we can find, whether that's in the pickups, whether that's whatever, it doesn't matter. And we're constantly looking at that. We're literally looking at higher quality parts literally this week. I've been on the phone with various people trying to always improve what we do. And if it costs more and it's better, I don't care. I am not a tone wood freak. I just am not. So I don't care what the guitar is made out of, really. However, the swamp ash, you can't see it on YouTube, but you can see it in person. You can see the pattern in the wood, and that's the main reason why we chose it, because it's very, very cool. And with that finish that's being used, that durable thin finish that they're using at Texas Toast, to varying degrees, you can make that finish show the grain in the wood, which is a lot more fun with swamp ash than it is with alder or poplar or something else. So that's why we chose it, because it can give you a few more dimensions to play with. I should tell you on the Batfish workshop thing. So if you haven't seen the videos, there's a link to it in the description to a workshop that we're having in Colorado in September, where you can go out there and build a guitar, and we teach you to wind pickups. You wind your own pickups. You do the whole thing. It's in 5 days. It's really, really cool. But we did open it up to a telly shape as well. Everything else stays the same. You don't have to bring any parts. It's all top shelf stuff, hip shot, like, I mean, all top shelf stuff. And you get to wind your own pickups that go in the guitar. So very, very cool. But we did open it up to a telly shape because we just figured that more people would want to do that. So I just want to mention that. Along with that other question, somebody asked about a Wenge fretboard. That's the devil's wood. Supposedly, if you get a splinter in a finger, it will infect and cause all kinds of grief. I will promise you that if you play one of my guitars with a Wenge fretboard, you will not get a splinter. Yeah, no, absolutely not. What is the highest output pickup humbucker ever used in a guitar? I do not know the answer to this question, so I wanted to pose that to you. What is the highest output pickup that you have ever seen in a guitar? Or maybe that you have personally used? Please put it in the comments. And so maybe this gentleman, which is his name, Stimulant Beats, hopefully he watches this video and he gets some ideas, because I have never thought about this really. Yeah, I have not really thought about it. So kind of cool. Yeah. All right, let's come back through here and see if we... Oh, man, we missed a super chat. I am so sorry. From Sassy Cat. Steel wool on the frets. Trogley has entered the chat. No steel wool on frets. No steel wool. None. Absolutely none. Never use steel wool on your guitar, ever. I want to make sure I didn't miss any other super chats. I'm sorry about that, Sassy Cat. Usually I don't do that. All right, I'm going to come back through here and see. Rickenbacker has been fighting for their shapes for 60 plus years. Yes, they are very good at it. Absolutely. Let's see. All right, I've seen all of these already. Have you considered making a Rick-style toaster pickup line? I have not, because they are so expensive to... Well, I have. I bought the parts for it one time. So here's the problem with those. There are many guitar pickups that are very, very cool, but they're so nichey that we wouldn't make enough of them to make them cost effective to build. That's why I don't make Filtertrons. A company like TV Jones, who like specializes in Filtertrons, and everybody knows that they make Filtertrons. So you go to TV Jones for Filtertrons, right? That's kind of the thing. That I'm using that pickup as an example. They've now kind of perfected that, and now they can get parts cheaper. They make enough Filtertrons to scale it up to where they can, have control over their parts and how much the parts cost. Now, if I buy Filtertron parts, I can't buy them at the same rate that they can, because I don't sell enough of them to buy that many of them. See what I'm saying? So I can't scale it up. So therefore, when I make a Filtertron, it's over $200, and you don't want to pay that, so you just go get a TV Jones. Rickenbacker stuff is the same. Nobody buys it. It's every once in a while somebody be like, hey, do you want it? And I'm like, yeah, I'll do it, but it's going to cost you $250 for a pickup, because the parts are so expensive. Where a humbucker cover might be, $8 or $9, a Rickenbacker toaster cover is like pushing $30. So now you're looking at a $200, $250 pickup that you're going to make one of, which makes no sense. So that's why we don't do it. That's why we focus, for example, on P90s. So just like you would go to TV Jones for Filtertrons, and I say go to TV Jones for Filtertrons, don't call me for it. Come here for Strat stuff, Tele stuff, and P90s, especially P90s, because that's our thing. P90s are our thing, and Strats and Tele stuff. So that's kind of the thing. How can Dimarzio still defend his cream pickup trademark with the thousands of colors their pickups come in now? Because they continue to defend um, that color. In fact, I know for sure that their lawyer, who is a friend of mine, just went to court again. I want to say like 6 months ago to do whatever he had to do to maintain that trademark. And they do. I'm going to show you something. It's so crazy that I can buy cream. I can buy these. I can buy cream bobbins. But I don't know if you can see this or not. But they don't really match. They make them inconsistent enough where you can't really make high volumes of them. You know, if you ordered, these are two slug sides, but it'll happen where you'll order, let's say you'll order 20 screw sides and 20 slug sides, then they'll be different colors, so you can't put them together in a pickup. Like they do that on purpose so that you can't make them, which is kind of interesting. Now we can do zebras and stuff, but we can't do double creams. They're very good at that. They have been very, very good at maintaining them. It's kind of an interesting deal. Can you build the shape as long as you aren't making money off of it? If you use the Strat or the Tele peg head shape, like from Warmouth, that is a licensed neck. You can buy a licensed neck and use it, but you can't make it yourself. You have to buy a licensed neck. Let's see. Going through here real quick. Protecting a copyright is not a popular move, but if you don't, why bother having one? Copyrights are for written stuff, like music. Trademarks are for shapes and colors. Let's see. 16.7, 15K, 28K pickup by Warman. Interesting. I have never seen that. Quad rail hums. I know I'm using them in my Strat project, be it 18.6. Okay. Brian Duncan, any chance I could get my pickups before the TT Wood Sweat and Beers on August 15th? Yes. I'm actually winding those pickups, I think, tomorrow. And I'm waiting on the fancy covers that you need for that. So, what is the date? The 2nd. Yes, we should be able to pull that off with no issue. And I will get with you on that, and we'll probably just ship them straight there. That way they're, oh, you live in town, though. We'll figure it out. No, we'll get you there. What are your thoughts on the Johnny Winter monotone pickups in my Epiphone for my Epiphone Firebird, which came with the Joe Barden mini humbuckers? I don't know. I haven't actually used them. Got another super chat from Sassy Cat. He says, Hamer once made a triple coil pickup. Any reason? I think just to be cool, because those are very cool, and I want to try doing that. I've actually never tried doing that. Slacker Deluxe said, so far so good with the Tuesday live streams. Plenty to talk about. Dude, it's been super fun. Thanks, Doug, for that. I really like doing this. I really do. Just, it's a little, I don't know. I don't really prepare a whole lot. I did today because there's some stuff that you kind of have to know about that story, but you know, it's kind of fun. I really, really enjoy it a lot. Let's see. Well, that's worth a super chat. Thanks, Dylan. Oh, thanks, Brian. Yeah, I'm going to do what I can. I promise you that. Matthew Perkins. Super chat from Matthew Perkins. Speaking of cream plastics, my Epiphone Les Paul Standard has 4 shades of cream plastics from the factory. Yeah, man, that's a hard thing, dude. We run into that too. And that is probably, well, that's Chinese stuff. And to tell you the truth, humbucker bobbin quality is probably the hardest thing to keep consistent. I have a hard time with it. We order new stuff all the time and trying new stuff all the time, and it's hard. It is definitely hard. But you got to do what you got to do. Why have I never seen a fiberglass semi-hollow body electric guitar? Kenneth, I would say, what about the Supro Resomax? Isn't that what they were called? The Resomax? There were 2 halves put together with like a seam around the middle. It looked like a dining room table from the 50s. And it had, and they were like a resiny, plasticky, fiberglassy stuff, I want to say. That makes me think, that's what that makes me think of. Let's see. Mikey Newman says, I'm building a Cootercaster style Strat. Would a P90 make a good bridge pickup? Oh, dude, that'd be awesome. That'd be so fun. 100%. Yeah. Reso glass. That's what they're. Thank you, Sassy Cat. Yes, that's what I was thinking of. And it was. It was like a. I don't know that it was necessarily like a fiberglass, like a boat. I think the fibers were smaller, and it might have been more. You think of fiberglass, and it's like big long hair, and it like looks like that. I think this stuff was smaller fibers, so it looked more like. Not quite like masonite, but not quite like fiberglass, like somewhere in between, if I recall correctly. I've only seen a few of them in person. I played one in Nashville last year. It was pretty cool. But that'd be cool. I want to do more stuff with alternative materials. I still have a carbon fiber project that's in the works. It's just taken too long, but it's something that I still want to do. Yep. So let's see who else we got in here asking stuff. Any tips for drilling when body mounting the pickups in the cavity? There's a couple things that you might have to do. Where's my? I just finished this loaded pick guard today for a customer. Sometimes humbuckers, because the holes are threaded, you might actually have to drill them out so that the screw can slip through there so that you can put foam underneath here and then screw it straight into the guitar. The same thing with your single coil pickups. A lot of times, because they're not threaded, but they self-thread when you put the screws in. So what will happen is it won't work right when you're trying to like bolt them into the guitar. So you may have to like drill out the base plates so that the screws they're using will slip through and then go into the bottom of the guitar. And then I just use like weather stripping for padding to go underneath them. Or you could use like cut up cheap dollar store flip-flops. They work pretty good too. Ovation, did they use fiberglass? It was some sort of resin. Yeah, it was some sort of fiberglass resin. Yep, I think so. But those are my couple little tips for wanting to hard mount pickups in a guitar. I think it's pretty neat. It looks cool. It looks very cool. We've done some videos on it. People want to think that there's a huge tonal difference, but other than that, it looks pretty cool. So you put Joshua Cantrill says, your brother Jerry is awesome, by the way. Says he put a P90, he's got a P90, and he tried to put a dummy coil in there to counter the hum. but it didn't quite work. So the wind count on the dummy coil needs to be very similar to the P90. So it's almost like you need to use a bobbin, like a P90 bobbin. If you were to use some other pickup that has a way different, like if you were to use like one bobbin from a humbucker, it probably wouldn't work. The reason a humbucker works and cancels hum is because the two coils have the same wind count wired out of phase with each other. And as you go away from the same wind count, you go away from humbucking. So if we were to put 500 winds on this one and 1,000 winds, 500 winds on this one and 4,000 winds on this one, it would still be kind of noisy because they're so far apart. So the wind count would need to be very much the same. Why just Dean? The fact that Schecter and Jackson and so many others have V's and Explorer shapes, but they don't have like exact copies. The Dean V is really the Gibson shape. Jackson, like a Rhodes, is not the same shape. I don't remember the exact term for this. Ron Beanstalk, the lawyer, told me what it is, and I can't remember what it is. But it's basically like if it confuses the customer, the consumer, as to what it could be, then it could be considered a trademark infringement. So when you look at the outline of a Dean V, it is exactly the same as a Gibson, at least close enough to get them confused. When you look at a Jackson Rhodes, it's all super pointy, and one side's really long and one side's shorter. I have a Jackson Rhodes actually, and the V is, it's completely different proportions. One's really long and one's really short. They're sharper. You know, there's a whole bunch of differences, and so when you hold a Gibson V up next to a Jackson Rhodes, you're like, it's not even the same. It's not even the same. So, yeah. Didn't original PAF pickups have uneven wind counts, or did I read that wrong? So there's always been a myth about that. Basically, they each had 5,000 watts, because basically this is what happened. This was the pickup before humbuckers were invented, the P90. And it is a single coil with two humbucker magnets underneath it. And Seth Lever is like, well, we need them to hum cancel. So I'll tell you what, let's take these 10,000 winds. We'll split them apart. We'll put 5,000 on each. It'll be relatively the same size. We'll just cut the hole in the guitar a little different, put a magnet underneath it, and boom, you have a humbucker. But back then, they didn't have fancy wind counting machine. I got a computer over here on my winder, so I can tell you exactly to the wind how many winds are on it. It wasn't until years later when people were like, hey bro, like how can we like get the vintage tone, bro? And they like deconstructed an original PAF, and they're like, oh, that must be the secret. There was 300 different winds on, it was like this one had 5,000 winds and this one had 4,700 winds, and that must be the secret. That's why they're so amazing. No, it's because they didn't have wind counters, and it is what it is. It was like, okay, the bobbin's full. They're like, you know, they put this many winds, and they're like, oh, yep, it looks about the same as the other one. It's kind of full. And that was it. But then the myth became this whole staggered thing later, which I think is so dumb and funny at the same time. Another super chat. What is the Reverend bass contour control, and how could you wire it into a Strat? It's a pain in the butt, Sassy Cat. I don't like them. But it's basically a reverse. It's a reverse of a tone circuit, sort of. It's a bass contour, and it's all it is is a filter circuit just sort of working the other way. It's kind of like a volume mod, but not really. But on its own pot, sort of. I guess that's the easiest way to explain it. The SD Invader is the hottest pickup before going to active. I'm not sure. Yeah, that might be. Fiberglass necks and Ovation guitars felt a little strange. Yeah. Those are pretty cool. Yeah, you know, I mean, I've got all this carbon fiber stuff, and it's fantastic. You know. Thanks. Didn't want to resort to putting a P90H or a P100 because the stock P90 sounds the same. Sounds amazing. Just too much hum. Looks like I just have to tinker with it. Yeah, dude. So yes, exactly. And I think that's trying to figure out what that is, what that magic line count of your dummy coil is probably a good idea. And you know, honestly, it might make it a little quieter, but the one thing you don't want to do, this is just my opinion, but I don't like messing with that stuff because the character of the guitar changes when you put that stuff in it. And I know you might be in a situation where you're like, I have to have it quieter. But changing the pickup changes the guitar. Like, so you might try to look into other ways to, you know, to do that. I mean, even a noise gate on your pedal board, noise gates aren't what they used to be. Noise gates are way smarter now. Like the decimator from the 80s is not the same noise gate as we have in 2022. So that might be something to think about and see if you can figure out a way to alleviate that noise in other ways than change the pickup. That is my opinion. The other thing too is try a different pickup. I'm not going to tell you that my P90s are as quiet as humbuckers, but they are quieter than a Gibson P90. And they are quieter than mini P90s. There's probably a few people in the comments that have my P90s and will probably chime in and tell you they're not wicked noisy. So the pickup, the quality of the pickup is a thing too. So just something to think about. And you know, I'm not going to say I'm not trying to sell you a pickup. I hope you buy one someday. But it's a thing. Like getting, you know, building them quieter is a thing. And I think we've been able to do that. Again, it's not a humbucker. It's still a P90. But, you know, and think about your amp too. You know, like and think about your room. I sometimes can have problems with noise because I have all these lights and stuff. So like when I'm shooting a video for a demo, for example, and I've got all these studio lights on, I got to make sure that I'm plugged into the correct outlet in the wall so that I don't have noise coming in from my lights and I don't have EMI coming through the air, because a lot of your noise that's in your guitar actually comes through the air. It doesn't come through the mains. So, you know, just some things to think about to minimize the noise in your guitar besides just your pickup. Might be something to think about before you go so drastic and, you know, put a dummy coil in it. It's an interesting road to go down and play with, though, for sure. Awesome. Well, this is fun. I like doing these. I think we're going to have to do this next Tuesday. Plus, I like to have a coffee in the morning. Oh, yeah. Merch plug. Yes, somebody asked about do I skate Santa Cruz. I used to be a Pal Peralta guy, but Pal Peralta logo is harder to put on a t-shirt. And I saw somebody else do this, like adapt their logo to the Santa Cruz logo. And I was like, I'm going to have to do that. So that's what we did. We actually have a new one on the website. Actually, I could show this to you. It's really cool. I'm super proud of it. It's simple. It's nothing groundbreaking, but we got a new shirt. Let me see if I can find it here super fast. Pretty proud of this shirt. Show you the blue version. Let's see. Here we go. There you go. There's your Good Tone shirt in the Goodyear font with the guitar with the wings on it. So figure I'd show that to you. That's on the website. It comes in black and blue because blue is obviously the Goodyear color, but people have told me many times this is rock and roll, so we need black t-shirts. And it comes with the Dylan Pickups, the vintage Dylan Pickups logo on the back, so pretty cool. Anyway, figured I'd share that with y'all as well. Let's see. A couple more questions came in here too. I do have a noise suppressor. Cool. Let's see. Is there a way to repair a 500K push-pull V-pot that won't pull up? Because my iron. Okay, I don't know what the rest of that question was supposed to be, but honestly, once push-pulls break, just replace them. They're kind of finicky, and the way they work and the little switchy thing that's a little paddle in there, just get a new one. Let's see. Is there a double stacked P90 with opposite wind directions in the top and the bottom? Yeah. There's a P100, I think that's what they call it, and a bunch of people make stacked P90s. I think they sound garbage, so I don't like them. Yeah. Likelihood of confusion. Yes, that's what it's called. And there's some likelihood of confusion to the consumer is what. Yeah. Thank you, Steve. My guitar pickups are wax potted myself. Little hum, but loads of feedback on the single coil. So hum does not, wax potting doesn't affect hum. Wax potting actually affects loose parts in the pickup. If you're getting a bunch of feedback on your single coil, either it wasn't wax potted well enough, or it's not. Is it not like a proper single coil? Does it have a bunch of parts in it? Like, is it a plastic bobbin, for example? Is it a plastic bobbin with steel pole pieces and magnets on the bottom, like a Squire pickup? If that's the case, you probably still have some loose pieces in that pickup. Anytime pieces move internal to the pickup, that's what causes feedback. So if you have squealing and microphonics and crazy noises coming out of your pickup, then chances are you have loose parts in that pickup. Hosoi Hammerhead for life. Dude, I used to have one of those, man. The light blue one, like the early light blue one. Totally remember that. Totally remember that. That is awesome. Yes, that is the case. Then probably what it is, so if you have a cheaper, I don't have any here. But basically what happens is with those cheaper pickups, they have a steel rod in them, and that steel rod wiggles in the plastic. So when the guitar string vibrates, it wiggles the magnetic field that's happening there. It also wiggles that little steel pole, and that causes noise. Yep. Cool. Chances are it's probably easier with one of those because they're pretty inexpensive pickups if it's within your means to replace it. Even if you just replace it with another one like it, because you can get those for 10 or 15 bucks or something on eBay. If it's within your means to do that, it's probably going to give you a better result than trying to fix the one that's in there. Because once those things are broken, it's possible that if you wax potted them yourself, this is another problem that you could have, is that you can overheat the bobbin very easily, actually, and melt the bobbin just a little, and then all of a sudden that hole that steel pole lives in, it wiggles around in there because it's a little oblong or something because you've gotten it too hot. So it's possible. I'm not saying you ruined your pickup, but it could be a possibility. I've seen it happen when people wax pot stuff themselves. I've done it many times. You go and you take a humbucker and you put it in the wax pot, and then you bring it out and the top is all wavy, and you're like, ah, crap, I left it in too long, or the wax was too hot, or something like that. I've done it a lot of times. So it's possible that you did that happen. I do not have any AliExpress suggestions because I don't shop there. We don't really use them here like you may. I know a lot of other countries use AliExpress almost like they would use Amazon, but we don't. And so I'm not familiar enough to tell you the truth. Get in the comments, y'all, if there's a cheap set of, because he said he can't afford Dylan pickups. So if there's a cheap set of pickups that you can think of, let him know in the chat. I've never actually done wax dipping of pickups. What is the wax that is being used in there? Could you basically use any candle wax to do it? I don't want to be rude and get up and show you. I just bought a new bag today, actually. Go to Hobby Lobby and get the paraffin wax it's candle wax. And I used to buy it in the blocks, but it was too much of a pain to deal with. So now I buy the little beads because you can just pour in as many as you need. Like anytime I need to replenish it, I just pour in a little bit. I think it was like $12 for like 2 pounds of wax beads. And so I'll just, every few weeks, I'll just pour a little bit more in as we consume it. Some people would say that you would need to use beeswax. I don't see the need for it. It changes the melting point a little bit when you use beeswax. And some people would say that it makes it more solid, but no. I mean, I've messed with it so much. And, 60-40 and 70-30 and all this stuff. And I'm like, just use paraffin. Well, what if you leave it in your car and it gets hot and the wax drips out of the... Dude, the stuff that we use, it melts at 135 degrees. If it's 135 degrees, you don't leave your guitar in your car. And if you do, you're a moron. So, I mean, it's totally fine. Yes. I can't wait to receive my T90 neck pickup. Your T90 neck pickup, sir, is right here. It is going in the mail tomorrow. I just completed it today. So there you go. I didn't know that was for you, Sassy Cat. That's pretty awesome. I like Fralin Vintage Hot Neck Blues Middle and an overwound bridge for a Nashville T. Yeah, sweet. Me too for P90s. And yours, Milos, are right here. I am shipping those tomorrow to somewhere overseas, right? Long ways away. So those are going a long way away. I wish the Silvertone I played as a teen was actually my guitar, but Dad sold it because he thought it was crap. It had the fine silver speckles constantly, but never seemed to run out. Dude, I know what you're talking about. Those big bass boat sparkles, and then once the clear coat started to break down, then they would just start coming off all over. I know exactly what you're talking about. That's so funny. That is so funny. Steven's been working on his sod. Apparently got a few. Changing to Bermuda plug fescue used too much water. Oh, dude. So yeah, my house, the last house we had, I had Bermuda, and it was okay. The only downside with Bermuda, it's great for hot weather. The only downside with it was you had to cut it really often because the top inch or so had color in it, and then it would be like a brown thatch underneath. So you would have to let it grow a little bit, then cut it off, let it grow a little bit. And in the South, where we live, in Georgia, we actually lived in South Carolina at the time, just like 20 minutes from here. And, you'd water every morning or every other morning or whatever. And plus it would rain. You'd have to cut your grass like twice a week in the summertime. It's crazy. Yeah. Anyway, Little off topic there. Little grass green thumbness that I no longer have to deal with because we don't have that house anymore, and we can concentrate on making guitar stuff and traveling, because that's what we do here at Dylan Talks Tone. If you are one of the 61% of folks that watch my stuff and have not hit the subscribe button, please do it. That would be awesome. And more importantly than that, please hit the like button, because I would really appreciate it. I see that there are 150 of you on right now and only 65 likes. See if we can get that closer to 100%. I would really appreciate it, because that likes and comments, believe it or not, is what really pushes YouTube to share my stuff with more people. So I would really appreciate that. Thoughts on set neck tellies? I say go for it. Set neck telly is super, super cool. Are kid-sized guitars easier to learn bends on? I don't think so. Maybe because the scale would be shorter, but not really. Do you ship to the UK? We do. Almost every week. Almost every week. Yep. For a while there, we do have, I think there is a funky thing where you have to have a $200 minimum order, but if you order 2 pickups from us, that's fine. I don't know, y'all with Brexit changed some goofy tax thing where some tax thing with stuff under like $150 or whatever. Anyway, so you just have to order 2 pickups instead of 1. But yeah, here you go. You guys, this has been great. I got to get going because I got obligations this evening, so I got to keep these to about an hour on Tuesday. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everybody for the super chats. Thanks everybody for subscribing and liking and being a part of everything that we do here. This is really, really fun for me. These live things are the most fun because I just get to hang out with you. They're the least amount of work too, because they don't take all the work of shooting and all that stuff. So it's just really fun to just sit here and talk guitar stuff with you guys like that. And I really appreciate it. And that's it, man. I guess we will see you all tomorrow for the news, the gear news, at 12 o'clock Eastern time. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you soon.